Okay, I'm going to call the meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency to order. And our first item on the agenda is public comments. I didn't need it. Do we have any public comments tonight? All right, then we'll move on to the consent calendar, and how does the agency wish to proceed?
I'll move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the consent calendar and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is the consideration of approval of an improvement program grant for the Star of Hope.
I'll take that.
Okay.
Star of Hope is a private, nonprofit corporation that provides training, employment, and housing for adults diagnosed with developmental disabilities. They have been operating since 1964. In 2006, they purchased the Oregon Connection House of Myrtlewood, a retail establishment, and operated that establishment up to 2017 when they had to close it. In 2021, they reopened the building in an effort to provide day services to their clientele. Because of the use changed of the building and its occupancy, they needed to bring the building up to appropriate fire life safety code. The services they are offering there include medication administration, physical therapy, socializing with peers, providing lunch and nutrition, and they supply office support for their staff. One of the fire life safety codes that they needed to do was to install a fire alarm system. It's a very large building and extremely extensive. In addition, they had to improve exiting out of stairwells on two sides of the building and increase exiting. They have requested a $25,000 grant. The cost for the improvements that they're undertaking is in excess of $52,000, and that does not include one of the stairwells that they're going to improve, nor the extra lighting.
Okay. All right, is there any questions?
General shout out to Star of Hope. I used to work in the developmental disabilities field, and we operated from Brookings to Lincoln City, and throughout that span, I would say Star of Hope is the best operated program for what it does. They're very impressive.
And this was one of the expansions that we did when we went to the building improvement, correct, was to be able to do some of this kind of work.
That is correct. In the past, we've had other buildings where the use had changed, and then no new code requirements came in, and for some, it just didn't pencil. This allows this building to continue to be used.
Any other questions? Any discussion? All right, how do you want to proceed?
I'll move to approve a $25,000 building improvement grant for the fire life safety related improvement projects being undertaken at the Star of Hope facility located at 1125 South 1st Street.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve $25,000 for a building improvement grant for fire life safety related improvements for the Star of Hope facility at 1125 South 1st Street. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. And our next item on the agenda is to consider the approval of an improvement grant for the Coos Art Museum.
In 1983, the Coos Bay Urban Renewal Agency purchased the former post office located at 235 Anderson Avenue to provide a home for the Coos Art Museum. The city still owns that building and is the owner of the permanent collection. Although thankfully we do not manage that, that is managed by a very capable organization we know as the Coos Art Museum. The design of the former post office included a loading dock at the back of the building. The covered loading dock has become an attractive nuisance where unlawful activity often occurs. The Coos Art Museum is also in need of additional storage space and desires to include or to enclose that former loading dock to, one, create that additional storage space that they need, but also to eliminate that attractive nuisance area. The Art Museum did engage the services of Croclay and Associates, who created project plans and specifications. Bids have not been received, and that is a little different than what we normally do, but in this case, the building is ours. So they've estimated that the cost would be $75,000. They're asking the Urban Renewal Agency to consider expending $25,000. They would provide the match, and to be specific, we would be managing the project, and I would suggest that we would cover the permit fee, city-related permit fees to that. So if it pleases the agency, we would ask you to approve a $25,000 building improvement grant plus related costs for building permit fees to enclose the loading dock.
All right.
And I do believe you have people here that are probably itching to say something, or maybe not.
Would you like to say anything?
Hilary Baker, board member for the Coos Art Museum, and I'm accompanied by Crystal Shoji, sorry, tongue-tied, who is the current president of the board, and Tom Foster, who is the former president of the board, and Steve Brooks, the ex-director. The museum offers a valuable service to the community. It's the Center for Visual Arts. It not only provides year-round exhibitions for local artists, national artists, and for youth, but it also provides a very vibrant education system for youth and for families and for adults. And this space, that would be created would provide storage space and relieve some of the other space within the building for educational activities, and add a pottery class. We could now use a kiln, and so it was not only stop it being a attractive nuisance, but also provide further education facilities. So it would increase the services the museum can provide.
All right, any
Thank you.
questions?
I just think it's a great project, and you know, the Coos Art Museum is an asset to this community, and thank you for operating it, taking care of it, and running it, and so, yeah, it's fantastic. And I just want to make sure it's clear that we are not just waiving the fees for the city for the permits. The urban URA will pay for those fees.
That is correct.
Right.
Counselor Stevens, I'm putting you on the spot. Aren't you a board member on?
I'm not a board member. My partner is the board member
Okay.
of the art museum.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
All right, any other questions? So how would you like to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve a $25,000 building improvement grant plus related costs for building permit fees to enclose the loading dock on the south side of the Coos Art Museum.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve a $25,000 building improvement grant for the enclosure of the loading dock on the south side of the Coos Art Museum. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
And our next item is the approval of a building improvement grant for 260 and 265 South Broadway Avenue.
Some background on this. On August 3rd, 2021, the Urban Renewal Agency approved an improvement grant to the owners of 260 South Broadway Avenue and 264 South Broadway Avenue for a facade improvement project. On May 3rd, 2022, the agency approved a request for design revisions for that project. As is outlined in the grant program, grants have a life expectancy of 6 months unless they're extended. And there have been a number of projects where they have received extensions. The project had not been completed and the approved grant expired on November 7th, 2022. The owners of the property were notified that it would be expiring, and if they wanted to extend it, they would need to contact by a certain date. And that date came and passed, and then in January, I sent out a notice that we were closing out the grant, and then I received from the owner's architect a letter dated February 19th, which is attached, which stated progress that had been made and the fact that the owners still wanted to move forward with the project and provided an anticipated completion date. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that the owner's architect is here tonight, Andrew Licati, and I'm sure is available to answer any questions you may have. They have asked for a request for reauthorization of the expired grant. Generally, when we get requests for extensions, that's normally done on the staff level. But since this one had expired and time had gone by, and a project that started in 2021 is still not finished, we felt it was appropriate to bring back to you.
Okay. Did you have anything that you'd like to add?
Well, kind of to...
Can you come to the podium so we can hear you online as well?
Everyone can hear you.
Okay. Well, that's kind of to, I guess, apologize on letting the notice slip or not making sure the owners responded to it. It kind of went through my email and not notifying them, hey, are you guys going to renew this, or you want me to do this, and that sort of thing. So that kind of ball got dropped there. But the intent, it's still ongoing. A lot of it has to do with the weather and what they're trying to do. I mean, the first change was changing from the roll-up overhead door that was opening up the whole wall to individual windows that opened so that they wouldn't have to deal with the ceiling on the inside. So that was a change on their part. And then as the owners thought about the changes and the overall goal down the road of this exterior facade look of stucco and more monolithic, and rather than go about changing the taking down the siding, putting up fiber cement lap siding, and then in several years taking it back down, I thought, well, that's kind of a waste of time and money to do that. Let's just see what it would be to just go do stucco. So that was the next change, and that takes time to get pricing and everything for that. And then I think it's probably in the I can't remember the exact dates on it, but trying to get, let's see, subcontractors committed and coordinated and dealing with weather. You can't just put up stucco during the winter, so you can that's kind of an issue there. And then dealing with the repainting can take place. Well, I think it's good weather as well, but to as far as from the contractor's point of view, he's going to spend money to clean it. He wants to be able to paint it shortly after that. So this whole time window of, we had some nice weather, oh, now it's raining, now it's wet. So as we're getting through this winter and the cold and the wet, once we start getting to some extended decent weather, he's anticipating getting in there to clean, paint, and open up the restaurant. He doesn't want to have it down. He wants to be able to go in there and seal off from the inside, open it up, frame it up, get a stucco subcontractor here and get that all done, so minimize the downtime for the restaurant. So it's a little more involved than a particular, some of the other facade improvements that have gone on. But, I will say we dropped the ball as far as re-upping or notifying the city as far as the progress. So apologize on that part.
Andrew, you're being very kind. I don't think you or HEE dropped the ball on this. I really believe it was your clients. I don't even see them here this evening. We held up this money for over a year now, and we could use some other projects. In fact, I think HEE applied after they did, and you did your project and got it done. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and they changed their mind how many times? 2, 3?
Yeah, at least a
Right.
couple of times.
And I think you probably designed it the way they told you to design it. And then you designed it, and then they changed their mind. In the meantime, that we gave approval for this grant, and then, we weren't even notified. I think, did you notify anyone that the designs were changed and it was going to kick this thing down the road? Or they didn't notify us?
On the first change, I touched base with Debbie Earler.
Right.
And so she, gave us the information as far as, okay, well, we need to do this, or you're gonna need to do this as far as notifying the council, hey, here's the change, here's the new drawings, they're updated, and this is what's going on with that. So.
Well, I can just tell you on my part, I'm really frustrated because wasn't this, you just saw 2 came before us. One of them was for 50%. The other one was for 25%. This grant is for 75%. And, I think, and I don't think there's very many that we've given 75% of. And then to take and tie this money up that could have been utilized for other projects or other entities or other situations, I think is very discouraging to me. Yeah, anyway, that's my comment. So, and it's got nothing to do with you or HGE.
I wondered if you could clarify the funding and where that puts us at again. Because I'm seeing.
One other thing, I don't see a letter in here from the owner stating that's being done in a certain amount of time, or the contractor. We have just a document saying that it's going to start on the March 14th to 21st. I would like to see some more concrete something, a letter from the owners and the contractor that this will be done in a certain amount of time. Because if we grant this, how do we know it's going to be done in 6 months? We don't.
No, the timeline that I put in there was from the contractor.
Oops.
So March 14th to the 21st, it said pressure wash, prep, and paint both sides. It's
Right.
March 21st today. Has any of that work begun?
No, a lot of that whole, I think the end time in there is what,
June.
end of June,
Yeah,
something like
so
that.
June, yeah.
So that's kind of that's what he's anticipating as far as being done with the project. And a lot of it's.
But that's a contractor and following the bid. But I mean, there's also factors, correct me if I'm incorrect here or wrong, that the owners will be involved in this. And so if there's something else that they wish during this time, that could also change the time factor. Am I correct? I mean, when you get into these remodeling things, something always comes up, and there's always going to be a decision to be made. Am I correct? I mean, this isn't like building a new building, right?
Yeah, something generally comes up.
So anyway, I mean, what happens if it's not done in 6 months? I guess is my question.
And I think Councilor Kilmer had a question about what we had left on the budget.
So for the agenda packet, we had the 3 different reports that spoke to each of the requests. There is a spreadsheet that we are maintaining that's included. That spreadsheet includes carryover. To start out, this project is in that carryover and then brings us down to where we currently stand. So we're factoring in this project, though it's from a different fiscal year, along with the current year's budget allocation. So this still leaves you some funds in this year that you could spend towards other projects. It does make it a little challenging accounting-wise to carry it for multiple years, but it's it's presented there. I don't know if you pull that up, if you had specific questions, but.
I guess I personally struggle with, we're just talking about wayfinding signs. We're trying to use urban renewal dollars for that. And it seems that there is more competition for the dollars now. And perhaps when we put this in place, I'll let you go next, Roger, but I want, perhaps when we, awarded this, we weren't having the demand that we do today. So that's where I'm struggling. I just feel like it puts us in a place where we could be using that money on other projects. Not that I don't think this is a worthy project. I would just like them to come back to us and say, okay, this is what we're doing. This is a time frame. Let's get it done. Roger, you were going to say something?
As to, you have funds for the rest of this year, you do have at least 4 other grants that may be coming before you this year. One is in process, and we've had 2 others or 3 others inquire about the program.
So on the spreadsheet, on the funding encumbered funds, Nicole, are you saying that if that was awarded, because it was carried over, that would leave the balance for the rest of the year at 139,000?
Correct.
My memory can be faulty, but I don't remember a situation like this in the last 7 years. Have we had a case where it's delayed this long and we pulled the money back?
We've had some that, a couple that have expired altogether. And we have a project currently that's partway through that may or may not be completed.
Feel like expiration's where it's at.
And were those projects at, were we experiencing some of the stuff that we did with COVID in those situations? Were those more recent than?
That one of them was during COVID, and it was a very small grant. It was under 10,000, and the project just wasn't undertaken by the property owner.
So it says here 2 weeks for stucco, and did I hear you right, say that it has to be good weather for that process?
Well, the stucco has to, it needs to be decent, consistent weather, and the stucco process, that's one of the last things that goes on, because that's the exterior finish. Prior to that, you've got to demo the wall and rebuild the concrete stem wall, and then frame back up, put in your windows and weatherproof and all that. And while that's going on, the interior's sealed off, so you're not going to have the dust and debris inside the restaurant. So all that's taking place prior to the stucco. So to minimize this whole process, you want to schedule the whole demo remodel portion when you know you've got consistent temperature and weather to deal with it. So I think maybe it was like 2 or 3 weeks or there's a time period in there that had the remodel portion, and then there's a little time period in there for the exterior finish, which I'm not sure that the whole total is maybe 5 or 6 weeks or something like that.
What if we got creative? What if we gave them $25,000 and with the idea that they would have to complete it by June? We could still make sure that we could fund our other grants, and so that might be a way to do it. I don't like it a lot because I'm worried it sets a precedent, but at the same time, that would allow us to still try to help them with what they're trying to accomplish, as long as there was a commitment that work was complete by July 1st, or we would need to figure out what that looks like, and as the mayor suggested, maybe a bit more detailed timeline of how we could accomplish it.
I support this project, and I'm just disappointed that it's not done. And I'm sure that you have some frustrations also, but versatile this money is what's I'm wrangling with Andrew, and it's got nothing to do with URA HGE. So, that's what I could go from. I'm not sure that the 25,000, are you talking about funding it, the whole thing after that?
No, I'm talking instead of this, it was 75,000, right? Is that
No,
what
no,
the-
we're talking 100
Hundred
and, we're talking,
138,000.
yeah, 138,000.
That leaves a balance of, for fiscal year '23, 139,000. So basically taking half of what we have left.
Yeah, I mean, 25 would, I don't even think cover for the services that they've expended so far, so.
Roger, could we add this to the April 3rd Urban Renewal Agency meeting and get an update on the progress before we make a decision?
Yes, that's certainly up for your direction.
That's what I would propose.
I think it's been really generous, and I would hope that if we do go down that road, that the owners would be here.
Yes, that too.
Well, I would definitely like to see, you know, a letter of commitment from both the contract, and I know the contract, there's variables, I mean, but I think by now, most of the product should probably be in hand, I would hope, I think.
No, the windows are
Okay.
here. He didn't want to open
You
anything
know, I
up
mean,
till
and
those are
there's some
here.
flexibility on that, and weather and all that other stuff, but, you know, make sure that there's a commitment, because we've gone, I think this council or agency's gone the extra step, or extra
Mhm.
length on that, and I don't think any apology from you is necessary, anyway.
All right.
I agree with Rob, and that's fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, generally, the process is just to move on to the next one, and before we
Mhm.
consider anything new, to take a look at what we have on the books already kind of pending. And so I think that's where we're struggling right now, is that we're at the end of the time period, and we actually have had a lot of requests. So I think that's the difficulty in taking such a big chunk, knowing that we have some other pending projects. It's almost like, you know, you were here, and now you're coming in behind, requesting
Mhm.
again, even though it's a re-request, it's really not. You're having to basically come before the agency again.
Yeah, I'm in favor of letting it expire, and if they would like additional, if they would like funds, they can come before us again.
I'd agree, let it go to people that can finish the job.
Yep.
So do you want to bring it back April 3rd?
Nope. My opinion. It's been a long time.
How does the rest of the agency feel?
What do you
Well-
think, Carmen?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, this is a very, very large urban renewal fund grant, and it does seem quite unfair to let it lapse. They were definitely within the rights to use it and get it done and get it completed. It just didn't happen. So I'm kind of in favor of them reapplying. And, you know, I realize that kind of puts the hitch in their giddy up, but at the same time, you don't get the funds until you complete the project anyways. Would that change the scope of their project? Well, potentially, but that's something that maybe I would have liked to ask them tonight, I guess. And since they're not here, I really don't know what to do except for look at the facts, which is they've gone well beyond the expiration date. And it was a large sum, and there's a lot of competition for this. So I'm kind of feeling like we got to let it lapse.
Anyone who
The only
has
thing
it?
I see here is that I think that they have an expense with the materials and stuff right now, probably, right? They're committed to the materials.
That's true,
Oh,
but you have to pay for the entire project cost out of pocket before you get the funds reallocated to you anyway, or reimbursed.
Well, so I guess someone needs to make a vote.
Someone
Well, I
has to
think-
make
I would like to hear from the owners before
Yeah,
we make
I-
a decision like that myself. That's why I would like to wait till April 3rd
I think if
before
they
we do
came
a
before
final
us, you guys can
decision.
ask all these questions, and maybe they're defendable or not.
Would that be a good compromise at this point. Sarah, you were pretty strong.
I just
on
think that there's expectations that have been clearly stated, and they knew those expectations, and they didn't meet those expectations. So I think we set a precedence if we extend it.
I agree. I struggle with setting that precedent, and that's hard because I love the restaurant and I love the people, but I think it's a big chunk of change, and we have so much competition for those dollars now. It's tough. I will, however, be magnanimous, and if they want to come back on April 5th, I'm willing to humor, if that's what Mayor Benetti and President Miles would like. I'm happy to do that, but it's going to have to be a really compelling message for me to want to change my mind.
I'm not sure what they could say to make me change my mind, so I'll make the motion, we let it expire.
I second.
All right, we have a motion to let the application expire for 260, let me get back there.
268, 264.
265 South Broadway. Did I say, and we have a second? Any further discussion?
Well, I'm not quite sure where I would have really liked to hear from them today. And I still want to hear from them as well. Because like Lucinda said, I care for these people. I love that business and really want to support them. But they've put me in a difficult position here. And so I'm not entirely sure what to do. But does anybody else have an input on whether we should wait or not?
Yeah, they could have shown the initiative and showed up tonight.
I think that we go to the vote, and that determines what the outcome is going to be, how people feel. So if there's no further discussion.
Well, but to Councilor Matthews' point, I'm in the same boat, Carmen. So.
Well, we do have a motion and a second on the floor to let it expire. So your vote, you should vote accordingly then.
That's a fair statement, Councilor Kilmer. Thank you.
So all those in favor of, unless there's further discussion or questions, all those in favor of letting the application for a building improvement grant for 260 and 265 South Broadway expire, say aye.
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 Opposed?
How many did we get?
Oh, Carmen, did you say aye?
Yes, he did.
Okay, all opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Well,
No
Lucinda,
pressure.
it's up to
Sorry,
you.
I know.
No pressure.
You go aye or nay? Which
I
way do you go here?
didn't. I'm sorry. I am going to go aye.
For what?
That
To
we
let it
should,
expire.
to let it expire.
So with that, if I understand correctly, the applicants can reapply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think they should. It's just, okay, I already explained myself, so.
Okay, so at this stage, the agency has voted to let it expire. They are able to reapply for that grant.
All right.
And it sounds like some of the agency would encourage them to do that,
Okay.
if
I
they so
encourage them to
desire.
reapply, just.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's a great program that we have in these improvement grants and that we've done, and so I appreciate anyone applying, so
Oh, yeah.
thank you for.
All right, you guys.
Appreciate you coming tonight
Oh, thanks.
and speaking on their behalf. All right, and we don't have any other action items before the agency tonight, so with that, I will adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.